again.
Yeah, didn't have one last week.
No, we didn't. That was my fault. Sorry about that.
Busy guy.
It was a weird one because we do the podcast. Those of you who are tuning in, you've downloaded, you're listening online. Thank you, by the way. I really appreciate that you do take the time to make us part of your family. We record these on a Tuesday morning in Dubai at the Rove Hotel downtown. And we're pretty consistent on Tuesdays doing the recording. Like it's like clockwork. And then my day job got in the way in that, like every other student, I procrastinated on finishing a paper. And so I needed a couple of days before it was due to give it that final polish. And I had to use the Tuesday.
Yeah, something's got to give.
And it was weird because the whole day was then off. Because I'm going, by what, 3 o'clock I was done the paper that I needed to finish, so I'd done the re-edits and I loaded in all the other pieces that I'd left off. And I'm going, I don't know, what am I doing now? Like, what's going on? Something's missed today, because this you record and then go and do the processing of our podcast is the typical regimen. And it felt really weird not doing them. So,
well, yeah, you've got to, at that point, you just got to get the Privily card out. And find a beach and a pool.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Preferably with barbecue included.
Oh man! And now Entertainer is getting into the Privily game, so they've got a Sun Entertainer that gets you into hotel pools and get you some discounts.
Well, the Privily podcast, when it gets to like December, January, we'll record on the beach somewhere.
Yeah.
No problem.
No, and that's actually a podcast that I keep threatening to do, but I haven't started yet. And it's the same old issue. So if you're listening to these podcasts, you know that we do We Will Fix It. You know we do Powerworks. We do Tech Talk. We do Doc Talk. And occasionally I throw in a catching up. But we do these 4 consistent podcasts, and that's the issue. It's consistency. And can you maintain it and do them regularly? And so I'm always a little bit hesitant to throw another podcast in, because am I going to be able to continue to do it? And is there the time? But I think you're right. I think a pool review podcast would be pretty fun.
Pool review.
So what's happening by the pool today? I spend a lot of time at the Versace Hotel, so we could just sit in the lobby and, what is the musical interlude today going to be? Is it going to be dueling violins? Is it going to be a violin and a piano? And there's 2 grand pianos there that...
I've never been in there.
Oh, you've got to go.
It looks very fancy going past it.
The hotel's very nice inside, but if you're remotely interested in watching characters of people, and I don't mean they're in character, they're just characters, that is the place to go.
Do you get mainly flamboyant Italians?
Flamboyant everybody.
Yes.
It's not even Italians. You get flamboyant Americans there. You get flamboyant Brits.
That's what you like.
You get flamboyant Emiratis. The other day I drove up and there was a G-Wagon, brand new, pink wrapped.
Nice.
Sitting in the front.
Have you seen but you've not been down that far, have you? On Sheikh Zayed Road, the Infinity showroom, the AW Rustamani showroom for Pink October.
Oh yeah,
full pink on the
that.
front, and
I saw that.
Fight like a girl. It's quite cool.
Yeah, I drove by that and saw that Fight Like a Girl,
and
I went, they nailed it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
We
drove past it. I didn't remember seeing it yesterday, but I saw it this morning taking Alma to nursery, and we drove past. And then as I came out of,
I think it was there on the weekend, because I drove by on the weekend.
Yeah, I just probably didn't notice it.
Yeah.
As I came out of work to go on a road test, came round Almanara Street, and literally there's like the corridor of the palm trees and then the flyover for Almanara over Sheikh Zayed, and it's like perfectly framed.
Yeah.
It looks really, really good. It's a real good job, that is.
Have we started talking cars yet?
Yeah, Infinity, sell cars.
There we go, Infinity.
Yeah.
I do think when you look at the agencies or the manufacturers, and they do stuff like that, like they get on board with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and they totally brand up their place. I mean, that's a statement.
Yeah, it's good effort. I mean, we've talked about it with, brands like Skoda that just have a total lack of seemingly competence from their marketing.
I saw Skoda the other day, and it was a Kodiaq, and I went, I love the look of that thing. It was
a car, that was,
and I'm going, why am I not seeing any of this stuff? Because I was going up to Sheikh Zayed Road, so I'm going, oh, Skoda's here. Skoda's on this stretch, and I couldn't find it, but I knew it was there. It's tucked in with something else. I'm going, why are these guys not putting a big banner up and just using the front of their, if they do no other advertising, they're on Sheikh Zayed Road, just put something up in front of your shop to draw some attention, like Infiniti did when they're doing it for Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Things like the Kodiak, I'd do something like take them down to, do a deal with Dubai Municipality and take them down to Kite Beach and just have the police use them. Because you see the police on the beach all the time. Kodiak's four-wheel drive. Yeah. Just get them to drag the plough behind to smooth the sand out, get people to see them, chuck a couple of surfboards in the back so the guys down there realise that they can get their equipment in.
Yeah. It's easy.
Free and easy, right? And then you don't really need anything after that.
Well, you let the guys use it for a month or two.
Yeah.
Then you sell them off as well-used vehicles. And, people could drive those easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was nice. That Kodiak's cute. And,
Skoda
does something with the names too. They got the Octavia. Yeah. They've got the Yeti. They've got the Skoda. They've got the Kodiak.
Superb.
The Superb.
Which is probably the greatest name for a car ever.
What are you driving? A Superb.
Because it's a rubbish. It's a rubbish compliment. If someone says how is it, and you say superb, you're either being ironic or taking the mick.
Yeah.
But it fits that car quite well because it is really good. Like the true meaning of superb, it is a superb car. And when you all things considered, when you think of trim level, spec, and build quality, and then price, they're probably like 60k for a brand new.
Well, this is the thing, and this is what I love about Skoda is great price. Under the hood, it's a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
So you're getting Volkswagen quality at a little bit more economical price, and it doesn't look like a Volkswagen. Skodas don't look like any other cars. They've
insulated themselves from the whole Dieselgate, which has now opened up again, hasn't it? Started again in Europe. Yeah. So they've insulated themselves quite well from it. If you go on YouTube, there are videos of people with Seats and Skodas that are opening their engine. They open the bonnet, to get to the engine cover, and then they peel their Seat or Skoda badge off of the engine cover to find the VW one underneath. And it's as though they didn't know.
Really?
So what did they think? Oh, hang on, my Ibiza looks a lot like that Polo. And it seems to have the same engine and the same power. And if you're in the market for an Ibiza, you would think, well, I'll check what the Polo is. I'll check what the Fiesta is. They're all similar sized cars. They didn't realise. There's loads of videos of it. I was talking to DJ about it and I showed him. And we were just on about things that we know and take for granted that other people know. Because we've had it with a customer who had oil in his coolant.
Oh, is this the vehicle that you sent me the picture of?
Oh, no, that was another one. That was an absolute disaster.
That looked like chocolate milk coming out.
Horrific.
More milk than chocolate.
That was a real disaster. The problem with that is when it's in the transmission, the torque converter gets full of it. So unless you take the transmission out, there is no amount of flushing that will ever solve that. Okay,
well, let's come back to that. But let's get back to the DJ story.
Yeah, so we were just talking. We fixed an oil cooler leak on a customer's vehicle and flushed the vehicle and said, come back after 1,000 kilometres like we always do, we'll flush it again. Unless we strip the engine completely and change every component, including the heater matrix in the dashboard, you're never going to get it all out with a flush. You'll get 90% of it out eventually, but there'll always be some residual oil in there. It emulsifies, it's very sticky, and it's hard to get it out. So what we tend to do is we just flush it, and then after 1,000 kilometres, flush it again. And hopefully by the time we get to the next service, which will be anything up to, say, 10,000 kilometres, we're checking the coolant on the service, draining it and flushing it again. Now we take for granted in between that the customers will check their coolant level every few weeks, like they check.
Are you kidding? I check my coolant level every day.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but you understand that you've got a 12-year-old Wrangler and you've had too many problems to not. But most people don't. And it's not the first time that I've heard it, and it's not the first time that we've come across it, but you forget because it's so ingrained. Check your coolant level. Yeah. Top your washers up, check your tyre pressures, make sure you've got engine oil in there, check your brake fluid, power steering fluid. So then customers call up and say, oh, I've overheated again. You just fixed my car 3 months ago, same thing. We'll say to them, well, okay, you've got oil in the coolant. It's residual from the previous flush. Oh, but I thought you flushed it. No, but we can't get it to 100%. If you'd have been checking your coolant in between, You could have called me and said, oh, there's a film on the top of the coolant when I was topping it up. Can I bring it in to check? Most of the time, we'd just tell people to get a piece of rag and just dip it in the water, obviously before you started the car. When it's cold in the morning, and then pull the rag out. And most of the oil that's emulsified will stick to that rag. You can throw the rag away properly and just check it again in a couple of weeks like you would or should normally. And that's probably enough. But left unattended, you know, you might have a small leak somewhere. That oil's at the top because it's obviously lighter than water. As the water level drops down, that oil coats the level sensor. So the level sensor doesn't always work.
Okay.
So then the customer's
It's that
checking.
sensitive that the oil is going to throw.
Yeah, because it's just using the current to go through the water. So then the level sensor doesn't work. The customer checks the coolant. Oh, I remember Glenn saying the oil might have damaged the sensor. The sensor's nothing. There's water in there.
Yeah.
Then there's a leak and you overheat.
Yeah.
And you
What would he know? What would he know? I know better than him. It's my car.
It's just very difficult. You know, what are you supposed to say to a customer? Well, that's your fault. You didn't check your coolant level. You can't say that. I'd like to sometimes, but you can't. You know,
You use the word, dumb donkey, and replace the donkey with the other word.
Well,
dumb donkey.
we used to. It was a bit of a joke in the workshop. It was RTFM, and that's what the trainers used to tell us at VW. You know, we try and explain to the sales executives about, can you please show your customers when they buy your cars how their radio works, so they're not bringing it back to me for a warranty repair for the Bluetooth not working when you've not given them the PIN code or you've not told them there's a PIN code. So read the F manual, you know, like it's in the manual. It's that thick and no one wants to read it.
Oh, side note, remember I have the issue with setting the time on my clock in the Jeep?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, so I did pull out that manual.
You went out at midnight and disconnected the battery, didn't you?
No. I pulled out the manual, and wouldn't you know it, I'd even put a little earmark on the page, dog-eared the page, so I could find how to do it. I'm going, what was I thinking when I did this? How smart am I? It took me 2 months to go and get the manual out. Every time I got in, I was trying to get this.
The buttons on my...
It turns out you have to hold the button for 4 seconds.
4.
That's all, 4, maybe 5, and then it'll start blinking. But
Once it's flashing, that's
once it's flashing. But I wasn't holding it long enough. So, oh no, it's a combination. No, it's like, oh, this is really simple.
The buttons on my display on my Mark II Golf didn't work for setting the time. The buttons didn't press properly, so I just disconnected the battery at midnight. Reset it. Went outside on my mum's drive. That was the only option I had.
It's a good idea. Okay, so back to this client with the small oil leak that was ending up in the coolant and fouling the sensors, and then they call you up 3 months later because they haven't gone in. Did they come back after a month for another flush?
We did the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, and then...
And did you notice anything then? No, not really.
Yeah, it was the same.
Okay.
It was bad. It was, there's oil in the coolant and it's terrible. Now, what happens with engine oil when the engine oil cooler fails, you get engine oil in the coolant.
Oh, this was an engine oil coolant failure?
So you get engine oil through the oil cooler into the coolant because the coolant's at 1.2 bar. The engine oil is at 3 to 5, even 6 bar, depending on how fresh the oil is, how new the engine is, etc. So oil will always go into the coolant because of higher pressure. Now, it goes in really quick. Really, really, really quick. And then you've obviously got the effect of the emulsification of that oil increases the volume of it as well. So you then end up with a coolant system that's full and more full, thick, gloopy, can't flow through the radiator, and it doesn't take long unless you notice it for something to burst. And if you're lucky, it's a hose. If you're unlucky, it's a main seal on an engine, or it's a head gasket or something like that. So you have got serious risk.
Does this happen a lot?
Yeah, a lot. Real big common issue here. I don't think it's the first time I've sent you a...
Yeah, no, you've sent me, I've seen these before, and every time I see it, I have the same reaction.
This was a bad one, because so the one that I sent you the video of was a Jaguar. And it's not something that's exclusively a Jaguar problem. Every vehicle.
Is it because does every car, now this is just the layman talking, does every car around the world have oil coolers like this, or is this?
Pretty much.
Okay.
They're pretty standard now on all vehicles with all engines. because it's a heat transfer, because the oil is always hotter than the coolant, there's a very thin wall of aluminium to allow the heat to transmit from the oil to the coolant and then go through the radiator, cool the coolant.
So this is the place where this could happen with any vehicle.
Yeah, so then if you use hard water, which there you go.
I see the people putting water in their cars, and I see them driving by, and I see them topping up in the morning with just water out of the
Yeah.
like you're nuts.
This is one of the reasons here it's very important for coolant additive levels to be maintained. Now, I always tell somebody, if you've got to top your coolant up as an emergency, or you notice just before you're leaving for work it's low, just use tap water. The reason for that is if you put the wrong additive in, it could congeal with the one that's actually in there.
Oh, nice.
You don't want that. That's worse than having nothing in.
Yeah, it's like curdled milk.
Yeah, so if you're topping it up, anything up to a couple of litres, just put water in. If it's beyond that, don't drive the car, because there's no way that's a small leak, obviously. But hey, that is what it is.
Yeah. I think sometimes people don't notice leaks because if it's at the top, say it's where the water pump is, and if it's at the top, the water leaking out
before it's stripped off,
it's evaporated.
Yeah.
You don't notice it.
Yeah, that is genuinely a big problem.
And then with all the housings over engines, you don't typically, mine doesn't have a housing, so you look in and it's like, oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
You see where it's evaporated off, and you realize I got a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
There's a genuine. I don't know if it's a lack of knowledge or a lack of confidence, or a mixture of both, or just total apathy of I'm not interested in checking under my bonnet.
I wonder if it's just apathy. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's I don't know what's under there.
Well, when you go open a bonnet now and there's plastic covers everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't see anything. It's not like, I remember my granddad saying to me, we used to look at something, you could figure out how it worked. You could take a Betamax apart and figure out how it works. If it stopped working, you could probably fix it.
Yeah.
You could put a gear wheel in, or you could change one of the pins, or you could re-solder one of the joints. You can't really do that now on anything.
No.
On absolutely anything. Everything's held in with security screws.
I think that's where you've nailed it. Why people aren't doing it is because honestly, they're intimidated by it.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is.
And and I don't think this is a new phenomenon. When I think back to Joey Woo and Joey Woo was at Bruce Bissell Pontiac Buicks where he cut his teeth as a mechanic.
Yeah.
And I would always laugh because I'm the least mechanical guy. Like you don't want me working on your car. Like honestly, it's like yes. No, and I remember driving by the dealership, and it's got to be like this in the UK. All the bonnets, all the hoods are up on the cars, and they've got and you can look in and see the engine.
Yeah.
And you'd see people looking in there. My thing was, what are they looking at? Like people don't have a clue.
Yeah.
And so I always used to just drive by, mighty fine looking manifold there. That's it. I'll come and look at this manifold. You're gonna love the look of this thing. It's like what? And I just think people typically, and this is going back when, at least at our high school, we had an auto shop. So I at least took. And there was a group of people, and maybe they still do. I haven't been back to my high school in 30 years. I'm sure there's still an auto shop there.
Yeah.
But at least you potentially knew something about a car, like a group of people. But I think a lot of people now have gone through schools where they don't have woodworking shops, auto shops, electrical shops, metal shops. We had all that, metal lathes. Can you imagine? People would get kicked out of shop because they'd leave the chuck key in the metal lathe, and we're talking people could die.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think people they are so, because the vehicles now, especially today, are just full of that plastic coverings. You can't really do anything, and they're just intimidated by it. And they're just like, I just don't know what to do, and I don't want to do anything in case I do it wrong.
Yeah, and don't forget here, because of the heat, a lot of the bonnet stays fail. The ones that aren't mechanical or manual, they have the hydraulic rams. They leak out, and then you can't hold your bonnet. You lift a bonnet on an Audi, on an A5. They have a really heavy steel bonnet. I mean, really heavy.
And then the pistons all fail. So
if the supports have failed, you've no chance.
Really? So there's no ones to do that.
So it's and this is one of the reasons for that. The manufacturers don't want people just in there playing. And if you've got high voltage discharge lights, like xenon lights, thousands of volts through those. You put your ignition on or start the engine, check your lights aren't working, which is how my granddad used to change his bulbs.
Really?
Obviously, it's an old school one, right? Engine's running, or right, that one's not working, get in there, take the bulb out, put a new bulb in, and away you go.
Yeah.
You can't do that on a discharge light because you'll just get an electric shock, which will really, really hurt and potentially kill you.
Oh, nice.
Obviously, manufacturers have to protect against that. And big yellow triangles with someone being electrocuted on them, they can't guarantee enough, so they'll make you take the bumper off to change a headlight, or they'll cover it with panels that you cannot see anyway to get them off.
So back to the guy who you changed the fluids, then he came back a month later, you did the change again, 3 months later you get the call, hey, what's going on? I thought you fixed this.
Yeah.
So where did that leave you?
So we've got it's all sorted now to a certain degree. Some of the hoses are soft from the oil contamination, so they'll need to be replaced.
And once they get soft, that's when these can be pressure hoses too, right?
Exactly, they hold the pressure. They have to hold the pressure, so you don't want any bulges. We've all probably seen a radiator hose that's bulging. You know, it's been pointed out to us by a mechanic or what have you.
Yeah, it'll be okay. How long will it last? Yeah.
That's the worst question ever. Because what are you supposed to say?
Yeah.
You know, I said to the guy, honestly speaking, if it was my car, I'd be cool about it and drive it. But I'm not you, and clearly you're not checking your levels every week.
Yeah, your car breaks down, you're going to know what to do.
This is the point.
My car breaks down, but you drive it, but my car breaks down, it's going to break down somewhere between here and Hatta.
Yeah.
It's going to break down when there's no one on the road. It's going to break down on a Friday and there's going to be no hope of getting it repaired.
No, that's right. I mean, it's the worst question.
Yeah.
How long will that last? I honestly have no idea. And the problem with trying to quantify a risk is, where do you draw the line there? Because you could get sideswiped by a truck.
Yeah.
So maybe don't use your car at all then. Your foot could slip off.
So what did the client say?
Well, we've got great news on it being it's a Mini. One of the hoses we need isn't available.
Oh no.
Now we can do something there, but
can you head to the wreckers and charge?
Yeah, this is what we'll have to do.
Hey, I need you to look for something at the wreckers and charger for me, by the way, next time you're out there.
There you go. James is buying a new car, everybody.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, we can do that. We don't like doing it, but at the end of the day, what are you going to do? Leave a car off the road for 20 days? 20 days. For a hose.
Can you get a custom hose from Borg & Beck or somebody like that?
No, they haven't got anything like that, and it's shaped to go around it's about 3 feet long.
Aren't there people though who make hoses here? Like I see the trucks, the compression hose guys.
Some of those hoses you can make. This is quite a small return hose on the top of the expansion tank. So, and then obviously you've got the fact that the hoses have failed because of the oil in there.
Right.
So there's also rubber seals on the thermostat valve.
Oh dear.
So it's best to replace the thermostat valve. So totally understand the customer's perspective of, well, I thought you'd fix this, I spent a lot of money on it, but we can't foot the bill for
you got to do your
own. We're not in the business of educating customers as a college to teach them about owning a car.
Yeah.
We give advice, and it's often in good faith given like this.
Yeah.
As an individual having a chat with me or DJ or whoever may be there. Yeah. We can't make contracts up and ask people to sign them, and you've been told this, etc. We often leave notes on invoices, but who reads those?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the only one.
But we have it. Yeah, it happens.
There's the other side of it. When I drive my car out of the garage, and the mechanic said, "Look, you're going to have to check those fluid levels. You better, and then if they say, every 500 kilometers or whatever, I'm going every 250 then. I'll just forget it every 500 kilometers. I'll just check it every night, or I'll check it every day, just because I'm going to be paranoid. Yeah. But there's a level of my own responsibility here.
There is a responsibility to owning a car. For a little short while in the UK, and I say that because I remember my sister taking her test, which would have been 6 or 7 years after I took my driving test. There was a little short while where you had to name some components under the engine, under the bonnet in the
random,
engine.
Or they
Yeah, there was a group of ones that you had to know of, but they'd ask you a few of them.
Yeah.
So there's things like alternator, battery,
got it.
spare wheel.
Yeah, that's a Skoda. It's the old Skoda. That's the Lada.
Where
The old Lada had the spare wheel on it.
So you'd have to figure out which ones were which. So they'd say to you, okay, can you show me the positive terminal of the battery?
Yeah.
Can you show me where the spare wheel and the jack for changing it is, and all this sort of stuff. I think it's stopped.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But
the people have no idea.
It shouldn't have.
Yeah, people have no idea where these things are.
No, it shouldn't have. Where would you put coolant? That sort of stuff they'd ask you. It shouldn't have stopped. Really shouldn't have stopped. And the guy that taught me to drive, he was extended family. And he used to come into, so he had a Polo, and he used to come into the dealership and buy his own oil filter, and he'd do his own oil changes. I mean, the car had done 500,000 miles of driving school miles, so some real hard miles, right?
Yeah.
And he used to just change his own oil, but he'd buy the filter from VW, and he'd come in, and we'd see him sometimes and buy the filter. So he was quite mechanically minded, and he was cool with doing that sort of stuff, and he was okay showing me around the car, and I passed my test before I worked at VW, but I was already okay. My granddad had shown me the basics, and I was doing certain things, so I was okay with it all. But it stopped, and I don't get it. Yeah. Why not have that as a requirement?
Yeah.
You tell people to check their mirrors before they pull away. Then why didn't you check your oil before you start the engine?
We used to always change the oil in our driveway, and we put it in the jugs and take it where you dispose of it. And I still remember with great memories of we owned. I remember we owned Mazdas for a bit. I had a Mazda 808. My dad was really happy with that when he got that thing. We owned Mazdas, and then we owned vans. Chevy vans, and carburetor days. And so I always remember, that some of these things were beaters. They were suffering to do some work, and you'd get the spray can that you'd fire into the carburetor to give it
easy start.
It's easy start. It's just like a
problem with easy start.
Little explosion under there, man.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
And pulling out that round filter that was up there. I mean, those were the days. But my brother obviously went in to become a master mechanic. But you knew where the oil was. You knew how to battery levels. You knew where to check your transmission stuff. You knew where things were.
We've talked about it before, haven't we? About having, how we'd like to get customers into the workshop and give them the opportunity to learn.
We still got to do
some basic things and get their thoughts and opinions, and there's just that level. There wouldn't, that everybody that needed to might need to do that. Would not necessarily come and do it.
Yeah, that's
for the same reason they don't do it, and it'd just be the intimidation.
Yeah. Oh, got another side one for you.
Yeah.
Took the yellow Jeep in for the re-registration. I was out in the parking lot, so of course I'm there at like 7 a.m, right? Because I'm beating the rush. There's still two people ahead of me.
Oh.
How is that possible? 7 o'clock in the morning. There's 2 people ahead of me, and it's like crazy. But I'm doing the happy dance in the parking lot, and the 2 guys look out from where they're doing another vehicle, and they're just looking because I'm filming a happy dance. And they're going, sir, everything okay? And this local guy walks by, is everything okay? And I'm going, yeah, passed another round. He goes, oh, that's a reason to be happy. Because now they send you inside, right? He's like, go inside and pay. And you'll get a text from the RTA.
Yeah.
It's like the ping, it's like, if it takes a breath, it's like, oh, it's okay.
Yes, we passed.
The person who was in front of me, I went out to get my car. The person who was in front of me and their car was parked there, suddenly there's no license plate on it. I'm going, oh, that's not good. It's like, who removes the license plate? Because she was still inside, and I go out, and the license plate's off the car. So
might have had to have new plates for the test.
Yeah, maybe.
They're damaged or scratched.
Maybe.
Yeah, they probably just made them get the new plates. There's the new fancy ones with the Expo logo on.
Yeah. We
had to get some for the van when we re-registered it a couple of months ago.
So it was weird because when I re-registered just now, the option was, do you want to change the plates? Not you have to change the plate.
Ours was damaged. So on the front, it was some of the black edging was scratched.
Okay.
And you're not allowed to paint them.
Okay.
So we had to get new ones.
There we go.
But they look good.
Yeah. You had another issue with cars. So you have got the one you just talked about with the Mini and all that, but you had another issue with coolant as well. That was the Jaguar.
Yeah. So that was automotive. That was. The automatic transmission. The automatic transmission So this is different to an engine oil cooler. The automatic transmission has lower oil pressure at the cooler. And then,
Okay, so there's a transmission cooler as well. So we've got motor oil.
Yeah.
We've got just the coolant itself.
Yeah.
And we've got transmission cooler.
Yeah.
All cars have that?
not all. Some of the transmission coolers go through a separate part of the radiator, or they have their own cooler on the front of the car. But
just another place
heat exchange to coolant on automatic transmission are a nightmare.
Just another place for more errors.
Because what happens is the pressure of the coolant is higher than the transmission oil at the cooler. So then you get coolant in the oil.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not the other way around. So, as I was saying, then that goes the torque converter, on these can hold about 2.5 litres of fluid.
That's a lot.
So if you imagine that's 2.5 litres of emulsified, you never ever get that all out by flushing it. So the only way to then do that is to take the transmission out, take the torque converter out, empty it.
Okay, so hold on. What is a torque converter?
So basically, it kind of does what it says it does. So
Converts
it converts,
torque.
Yeah, but it uses oil. There's oil pressure.
And where is it located in?
So if you imagine the transmission bolted to the engine,
Yeah.
and on the engine side you have the flywheel.
Yeah.
Bolted to the flywheel is the torque converter, and it's converting the torque of the engine, and then there's oil in it, and then you've got behind that you've got the oil pump, which provides pressure for the oil to change gear or hold gear, whatever.
A lot of parts.
Automatic transmission is like a series of 1-hour podcasts for about 6 years.
So does every automatic transmission have a torque converter?
True automatics do, yeah. True automatics.
So not a CVT.
So CVT would still use one, but I'm talking about things like a DSG, PDK, S-Tronic, whatever you want to call it, the VW Group 1, the double clutch. That's technically a manual gearbox with electronic shift.
Okay.
And then when you talk about the Alfa Romeo and Fiat nonsense, the Sally Speed stuff, they're ridiculous. And the SMG, again, another shocking gearbox on the BMW stuff.
Yeah,
so they're manual gearboxes that just have a big hydraulic unit that's unnecessarily complicated, changing the gear for you, basically.
Right.
But the classic big torque converter that's like 7 or 8 inches thick, they're on all the true sort of automatic transmissions. But you can never get them empty unless you take them out and empty them.
Okay.
So then you flush and flush and flush, and you can put 1 million litres through this thing and it'll never truly empty it.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that people don't realise. So if you have a capacity of oil for your transmission of 10 litres, and you know that, say, and then you take your vehicle for service and they say you need to change the transmission oil. When we do a transmission oil change, we'll drain it from the sump, we'll replace the filter and we'll refill it, but we'll only get about 6 litres out. So we'll only put 6 litres in.
Right.
So only 60% of that oil is new.
I didn't know that.
Because a lot of it's in the torque converter.
And now, is that where when someone's changing that, they're going to offer to flush it?
The problem is with the flush, it doesn't get it out of the torque converter.
Oh, so it still stays in the...
Slowly, it just keeps mixing. And then, so this is why you...
So we've 40% of the old oil is still there?
Up to 40% of the old oil, yeah. And then obviously what you have is a situation, which we've talked about before, where if you haven't changed the oil for 20 years, and you start to notice a problem and you think, I'll change the oil, you might make it worse. Because then the new oil goes in and breaks down some of the carbon, which if it's carbon-based clutches, it's usually carbon deposits that are causing the issue, breaks it down that's in the oil left in the torque converter, immobilises it around the system again, and then it makes the problem worse.
Oh man, we've got to do that transmission talk, but that. So what need
whiteboard, chalkboard, pens.
We can do that.
Yeah.
So what happened with this guy's whole scenario? Because
we're still sort of halfway through it. So
still halfway through.
So the guy lives in Ras Al Khaimah, who's a neighbour of ours when we lived in Ras Al Khaimah.
Okay.
And he drives in to see us whenever he needs his car looking at. Now he said that the only reason he came in was because he had a coolant leak. He was losing coolant. Didn't know where the leak was from. And someone had told him that he had oil underneath his car when he had it washed. But it doesn't feel like oil. He said it just feels a little bit slimy.
Right.
So we got the car up on the ramp, put the pressure tester on the coolant bottle. It wasn't really dropping pressure at any rate. There was a bleed screw on the top which had been broken at some point, but it was not leaking really.
Okay. Yeah.
So we got the new screw in there anyway, but it wasn't really losing pressure. It wasn't really, but the oil that was on the under tray of the vehicle was coming from the transmission, and it was coming out of the back rear seal, and it was also coming from the sump.
Oh no.
But it wasn't, as he said, it didn't seem like oil. Obviously it wasn't. So then when we said, okay, we'll change the gasket for the sump, so we drain the oil out and it just comes out strawberry milkshake for ages. So obviously every time he's topped the coolant up, it's because it's been going into the transmission. And he said that he topped it up with a litre 4 times before he brought it in.
Oh dear.
So there was 4 litres of fluid extra in that transmission. That's where the pressure was coming from to then blow it out the side of the gasket. Now, when it first came in, he wanted to drive because he said it didn't feel right. One of the tyres had bulged, he'd hit something on the road and got a problem with his tyres. So he'd gone out for a drive with DJ. When DJ brought it back in, he said, yeah, there's a problem with the tyre, we'll have to see which one because I can feel it shaking, which is what he's complaining about. He said, but the gear shift is awful. He said it bangs into first when you put it from park into drive, and then when you were parking it back in the space and put it in reverse, it hesitated and then banged into reverse. Yeah. So that was obviously why.
Yikes.
Yeah, so
how long is this car going to be out of commission?
So what we did with it was, he sat there all day. Obviously, he'd only come in to have a look for a coolant leak. No. What's he going to do? He can't get back to Ras Al Khaimah.
Right. He's there all day.
So we did the tyre. We sorted the tyre. We sorted the valve. We checked for the leak. We found then this issue. We got a new filter. We got new oil for the transmission. We flushed it out the best we could and then put the new oil in and away he went. And now he's coming back so we can get the gearbox out, so empty the torque converter. And do the job once and for all. The only problem here is ideally we'd strip the gearbox down and check that the clutches hadn't swollen up and replace them anyway. Actually, you would just replace them. But you're talking 10,000, 11,000 dirhams to do that.
Oh boy.
So do you just take a punt and put 1,500 dirhams of labour into gearbox out, empty the torque converter, refill it, put it back in, and then flush it again? And hope that it's okay.
What's your gut tell you?
Well, the car is worth 30k. You're not going to spend a third of that rebuilding the gearbox, surely. Yeah. So you're going to try, and for 2k, you're going to hopefully get a result. But if you don't,
walk away.
Then there's the decision to make, isn't there? So, but he says the shifting feels better.
Okay.
Sometimes customers tell us that though to convince us it's better, so that we then don't tell them there's a problem. We get that sometimes. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to be continued.
Yeah. Hopefully he's all right. It works out okay.
I wanted. I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, but I was driving down, just doing the regular drive as you do, Elkale Road or wherever it was, and given the nature of the way I drive, I am not the fastest guy on the road at any given day, so I get a lot of time to look at lots of cars.
Are the windows back out yet?
You know what? This morning, I woke up and you would have seen the car in the parking lot with the driving doors out. The rest of the windows are still in, but today it was cool enough. They're coming out tonight.
You'll be able to see out the windows soon then.
Well, that would also be a good thing. I was in Al Quain on the weekend. I was doing a course, and I'll talk about that one off air because it's awesome. And ended up driving home after, it was about 6 o'clock. So the sun's going down, and I'm going, no, this is an amusement park ride we're on now.
Hold on tight.
And we ended up going, mistaking me, not thinking clearly about what day of the week this was. Ended up taking the road right through Sharjah where I should have gone up to the 611. Yeah, I was on the 311. Should have been on the 611. So I was on the 311, and we weren't even at National Paints. We were just at the Ajman thing where it started to back up, and I'm going, oh, this was dumb.
Oh, where VW and Kia?
Yeah. It was just starting. And then it was only about an 8-minute. In the end of the day, it was only an 8-minute rest. Yeah. But it was 8 more minutes than I wanted to rest.
That's all the way to you getting off, though.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's with the frosty windows. So I'm looking forward to getting them out, just because it'll and it's it's fun to drive without the windows.
It's come around. Mind you did get till August this year. Yeah. So you've literally only had like a month and a half with them in, and you weren't here for that.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. So next year we're going for 50. We're not until it hits 50 do we put the windows in.
You got 49.5, didn't you, this time?
Yeah. So I'm working the way up there. So the whole point of all of this was I get to look at a lot of cars, and the Changan Chinese vehicles one of them caught my attention because I had to take a 3-time look at it because I thought it was a BMW X4.
Exactly the same side profile.
Isn't it? It's like, I mean,
yeah, shameless.
That's what I was saying. I'm going, this can't be. This is.
I like because you put the link on the notes and then you click the link and you get on the website and instantly the online chat just comes up automatically and asks you, you've got the options of what you need to do.
Yeah.
I need to book a test drive. I don't, thanks. No, but it looks nice inside.
Well, and this
the interior looks pretty cool.
This is the thing, and they're working pretty hard to move these because they're all over Instagram and they're showing things. But the side profile and the back has that X4, X5.
All the cars to copy.
And the Mercedes doing that too. And then it always makes me think of the Honda Cross Tour, which everyone hated it. You just made the lip. I love the look of that thing. And it looks like this.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, all the cars to copy an X4. But that's exactly what it looks like. I'm not saying they copied it all. That's libelous, I suppose.
No.
But I'm not saying they have, because that's all been dealt with now in China, I think, after the Landwind and the whole Jaguar Land Rover thing. But, I mean, you've got the top level one here, the CS85 Premium.
Well, I'm looking at
ridiculous
this.
spec. Yeah. Ridiculous spec.
You see the price?
For 130,000 dirhams.
Yeah, 130,000 all in. And that includes the stand outside the car key fob automatic parking. I'm like, how's that possible? I think it's got, a 2-liter turbo engine in it. And yeah, and it's a nice looking wheel. I haven't driven one, but I'd love to go and take a test drive.
The interior looks well appointed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, like I say, the shape of it is not the shape for me, but the interior looks nice.
Yeah.
Real nice.
Like and they come with some funky colors. You got your reds, you got your mauve or whatever color that is. I mean, it's interesting. So I thought the Chinese are really moving ahead with this thing. And it's what, an automatic transmission, 8-speed.
Yeah.
2-liter turbo, 360 Newton force, whatever, that's the torque, right? It's like, I don't know what that is.
You do another 4 hours on torque and horsepower
like,
and difference between, if you like.
I mean, and that's one of those things, it's got, 360 Newton meters of torque. It's like, whatever that means. It's like, it's got 360. It's like, is that good? It's like, I don't know, but it's a big number.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. It's more than you get out of most of the V8s that come out of America in a 2-liter. So yeah, pretty good.
And then I love when you're looking. So the reason I got to go and see one of these things. Maybe we have to go do a walk around together. Mic ourselves up, put the camera out like we've got for YouTube, and just go walk around and have a chat. But it shows when you're on the website. So it shows the fantastic transmission, the fantastic suspension system.
Fantastic. I mean, what? Are they the first to have suspension?
It's fantastic suspension. And I'm just laughing because of the wording. I just think but so they show, first of all, the drive modes, and they show that little dash area, which I thought looks kind of cool.
It does look good, that, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
And I thought,
it looks sort of,
I don't know what it looks
well,
like.
and Volvo did do a lot with Chinese companies. It looks very Volvo, especially the drive mode button there.
I wonder about, there's these little toggle switches, and it looks like you just slide them forward and back.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've seen those switches on something, but I can't remember what I've seen them on, but it's not in a car. I've seen them on something that I've used that has switches like that. Something, and I just don't know what it is. And the engine, for the 2-liter turbo sitting there, I mean, it's a clean engine just sitting and getting photographed. It looks good.
I wonder where it's from. I wonder whose engine it is.
I don't know. That was something I wanted to do a little research with, because...
Whose engine it is. I'm going to figure that one out.
It's clearly someone's engine. It could be VW.
Yeah, VW or Volvo are the big players over there at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's just a matter of who they're affiliated with. But it's just, again, nice looking vehicle. And I've seen a couple of them now. I've seen the red one, I've seen a blue one. And each time I see it, I do a second take. And the badge is even close enough that I'm going, is that a Beamer? Is that a... And the badge is close, so you kind of do that second look. So it's interesting. And like you said, the price point alone. If you can get it fixed, and you can get the spares for it, and it's got this more expensive version at 130 dirhams has even got curtain airbags. That sounds to me like it's a no-brainer.
Look, I'm just trying to figure out the engines, and I said they look quite Volvo inside, and it might be the reason for this, because Volvo, Mazda, Ford, they're all together. So in 2019, Mazda Motor Corporation purchased Ford Motor Company's stake in Chang'an Ford Mazda Engine Co. So now it's basically going to be Chang'an Mazda Engine Co. So where Mazda's still Ford, Volvo. They're all kind of.
So there we go. That's why. So that's a decent engine.
Yeah. Can't complain at that, I guess.
So if I got a Ford Mazda Volvo combination engine in it.
Yeah. The wheels are shocking, and I don't like the look of it. But I guarantee it'll be comfortable, and it'll probably drive really well.
We gotta go do a test drive. I know we keep saying this, but we really do have to go and get in one.
The AC will be freezing in it.
Oh, you know what? And this is going back to Brown Car Guy. I remember he did have a Chang'an early on. So we haven't done any shows together in years. And I remember he had one.
Yeah.
And he did say, of all the cars he's ever driven, he was driving in a meat locker.
Yeah.
He says, he's never driven in a colder car.
Don't know how to do it. Every Chinese car I've driven has been freezing.
I don't know why they do that.
Just maybe they're allowed to use different
maybe
illegal refrigerants in China. They don't care.
They've got the system down for how to refrigerate.
Yeah, but no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great value if it's a good drive. 130,000 for the top spec.
You know, the thing will be 5 years from now, and it's always, okay, I want to see one of these cars now, and I want to see how does it age? What's the paint look like? Are they still around?
How are the trims? Do they hold the trims hold on and stuff like that?
Because that's been our comment with the Teslas. You know, nice vehicles, but they just don't seem to
hold up. No. What's the equivalent X4 going to cost you though? Which is clearly what it is.
Yeah.
What's the equivalent X4 going to cost you? Twice that.
Yeah.
Easily.
So
you could buy two of these.
Yeah. Buy one. When it dies, get another one.
Yeah.
And you know it's going to be better. But if they're affiliated with Ford and Volvo, you know that there's a base level of expectation of quality in it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, you know, this could be interesting. And I think one of the things when I see these, actually the front end, when you look at it, it's got a little bit of a Tiguan look to it. And I know Volkswagen's not involved, but just look at the grille and think of the Touareg or the Tiguan.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that, I suppose.
Just the grille.
Yeah,
just,
the bars on it, yeah.
Yeah. That badge, if you squint, that could be a VW badge.
Come on, you're being silly.
Oh man, so there we go. We might actually drive one. Anything else going on in the shop?
Cleaning.
Well, you've got the new shop. I think our next show, we've got to just have a comprehensive chat so that people understand when you set up another outlet, a new garage, it's not just a matter of, you know, rolling in a couple lifts, getting a few guys in their clothes, and okay, we're ready to open. I think it would be interesting for people to hear what it takes to physically open up a garage.
I don't recommend it. It was difficult this time. The first time was easy. The first time, no, it wasn't easy. That's the wrong thing. In relative speak, it was easy because he was kind of locked down.
Yeah.
Didn't have a job, so I was focused on it. And
now you've got.
I could do a lot of it myself or muck in when the contractors were involved. Now, you sort of 99% of it, you're relying on the contractors.
Yeah.
And the first answer to any question is yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
It's very difficult. We're getting there. We have a car booked in tomorrow morning.
Okay.
To do some
brake
pads. The only reason we're doing that is because it's a Golf GTI, and we've got the parts in from Borg & Beck. So it's my favourite car. We've got the parts in. We're trying to push the Borg & Beck brand. So we'll do it. Amy can.
Is Amy going to do it?
Do the brake pads, and I'll take the photographs.
Yeah. That would be good.
Yeah.
So
that'll be good. But no, it's really important that we get things going there.
Yeah.
And when I found out we had the parts in for a friend's car, which is my favourite car, the car that we ultimately want to see 20 or 30 of a day, then it made sense for that to be the first job out of it. One of our senior techs went over there on Sunday and put the tools together from into the trolleys, and me, Amy, DJ went there yesterday, and we put the transmission jack and the engine crane and all the little things, put all those together. The diagnostic tool arrived last night. So we are ready. The lifts work, there's AC in the office, the reception's ready, kind of. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be more focused at fleet and showrooms, but because of the location and because of the traffic on certain roads getting into Dubai, it's probably going to turn into a retail point as well.
That'd be awesome. You know, if you're working in DIP, you can just drop it off there and then...
Yeah, I mean, if you think Umtakim and Hester Street are like car parks in the morning for anyone that live Dubai land side.
Any time of the day, I don't go anywhere those roads.
Yeah,
I mean,
so people to go on like the 54, the new road's great.
Yeah.
Takes you straight in.
I don't even know what that road is. I know where it is, and then but it's like
just like, you know, the road between the 311 and the 611.
Yeah, it's like
The only problem with it.
Where did that road come from?
Yeah. The only problem with it at the minute is it's still got a lot of junctions with roundabouts and traffic lights, because obviously the flyovers to go over like the main roads are not put in yet, but they've finished the one on the Al Ain Road.
Yeah.
So that's now good. We just need to do the Umtakim and the Hester Street, and then that'll take you straight to World Central and Expo, which is important for the next 6 months, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting thing I learned about Expo yesterday from my students. I had them doing a little speech about, you know, you watch the start of Expo, thoughts on Expo. And one student said, oh, it's really interesting. There's dedicated parking lot if you own a Nissan. I said,
Excellent.
What? I said, what? She goes, yeah, if you drive a Nissan, there's a dedicated parking lot where you can go park.
You know what?
And I'm going...
That's not a bad stunt from the marketing guys, is it?
No, I just thought that's... And it's fairly close to getting in. So what do you drive? Drive a Nissan. Go this way.
Problem is, there's so many patrols here.
It's
You're fighting over spaces.
Yeah.
Where's the overflow?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. Glenn, as always, this has been a lot of fun.
Been good.
And I look forward to doing it again really soon. The PowerWorks podcast, which you've been listening to with Glenn Power from PowerWorks Automotive.